As you know, Speaker of the House Mike Hubbard was just found guilty on 12 of 23 felony ethics charges. The basketball game is going on right now, but we wanted to bring you some live coverage now, and then that's not live, let's start it over, sorry.
Bring us some coverage as it happens.
Okay. Hey Facebook, I'm Lauren Walsh here with Stephen Quinn. The basketball game is going on right now, so we're not on TV, but we wanted to tell you about a very important story right now. Alabama Speaker of the House Mike Hubbard just found guilty on 12 of 23 felony ethics charges. We're going to have much more after the game, but we're going to give you a quick breakdown now. And Stephen, the state just came out and started talking. Tell us about what they said.
Very surreal here as you have both supporters of Hubbard as well as of the prosecution out here right now. They say that they felt vindicated about what they were able to see with those 12 counts that were found guilty on that indictment, especially for some of these prosecutors, including Prosecutor Matt Hart. He told us that obviously he was the one who faced some of those prosecutorial misconduct charges, saying that he felt, good finally seeing that this indictment had come down and that it had come their way. And obviously it has big implications as well in the state of Alabama and the future of the Republican Party here and its leadership.
Being guilty of just one would have removed him from office, and now being guilty of 12, he is removed from office. The Speaker pro tem right now, Victor Gaston, is going to assume the duties as Speaker until a new Speaker is elected. So that could happen in a special session or a regular session. But again, right now, Speaker Mike Hubbard removed from office because of the charges that just happened. If you haven't been following this trial, let's talk about what he was accused of. The state said that he used his office to make money, and he's found guilty of 12 of these charges. So let's talk about a couple of them. Hubbard had a contract with a pharmacy group called APCI, and one of the charges against him was for voting on something with a conflict of interest. If a legislator knows they have a conflict of interest, they're not supposed to vote on something. The budget back in 2013, the general fund budget, the fund state government, it did have a section in it that would benefit APCI. Now, Hubbard says his contract was only for out-of-state work with APCI, but he still voted on that budget. His former chief of staff, Josh Blades, was here at the courthouse earlier in the trial, said that he told Hubbard not to vote on it. Hubbard did vote on it. Well, the jury found him guilty on that count.
And his argument the entire time that it was good for the state of Alabama, and that was the reason that he made that decision, obviously something that the jurors did not buy.
And in the closing arguments, they said what matters and what does matter. They said it does not matter, the state said, if it was good for the state. They said what does matter is that there was a conflict and he voted. The state told the jury in closing arguments that's all that mattered, and it's an argument that resonated with the jury.
Lauren, I know there was a lot of questions as well when we saw some of the higher members of office and former office Governor Bob Riley, one of those who was involved in this case. I know there were some indictments where he was mentioned as well.
And let's talk about those, because the two charges with the Riley family, one was with former Governor Bob Riley, one was with his daughter. Both of those not guilty. Those were two of the charges not guilty. Hubbard was accused of soliciting something of value from a lobbyist, which Governor Bob Riley is a registered lobbyist, former Governor Bob Riley. And the defense all along was proving there's a friendship exception. There's an exception for long-standing friendships. Well, Riley spent 3 days on the stand here, and he spent a lot of that time talking about his close friendship with Hubbard, how close their families are.
And you remember that exchange that took place where every time that he was being asked about Governor Riley, and he only responded by saying, "My friend Bob Riley."
Yeah, they were trying to call him lobbyist Governor Bob Riley, and he wouldn't call him a lobbyist. He would only call him my friend. So the friendship exception seems to have worked in that one. Again, the two counts with the Riley family, not guilty. But let's talk some more about what he was found guilty on. He was found guilty about several charges relating to his contract with Capital Cups. Now, this was Hubbard's contract with Robert Abrams, was the owner of Capital Cups, a businessman here in the Lee County area. And Hubbard's was supposed to help sell some cups, make some contacts, and he was charged with soliciting and receiving something. In this one he was charged with having his office help him secure that contract and using parts of his office help with that contract. You can't use any part of your office to help with your private businesses.
And this was part of the larger argument that was made by the Hubbard case, was that while businesses may have benefited from this, it does not mean that he necessarily did. I was actually out here as that was coming down, talked to Dwayne Bridges, a former representative here in the Auburn area, and he was saying, he never personally saw in his mind that he had benefited from some of these contracts. Obviously, the jurors thought differently on this, however.
And when it comes to using your office for your businesses, one of the lines that's most memorable from the whole trial came from Hubbard's former chief of staff, Josh Blades, when he was on the witness stand. You'll remember the line. He told me he had 100,000 reasons to get it done. Josh Blades there was talking about something for the owner of Capital Cups, Robert Abrams, and he said right after when Hubbard said that, it made him feel sick to his stomach. He said that he did not feel right about it. He thought Hubbard was talking about money, and that seemed to resonate with the jury on these charges.
Just amazing to see now where the state of Montgomery is, in that city right now, as you can imagine, with what is going on, seeing former Governor Riley, Governor Bentley, seeing Del Marsh come in here as well. Mm-hmm. All of these people have been brought in. This has involved the highest forms of the Republican Party here in the state of Alabama, and now one of the biggest names in that party has fallen.
And this is going to be definitely a shakeup in Montgomery. There are a lot of key issues in front of the legislature right now. I mean, the general fund budget is still short, according to Medicaid, $156 million for Medicaid. And Governor Bentley's prison package that he's been trying to push, two things that did not happen in the regular session. We thought there might be a special session. Well, without Speaker Hubbard there, that might impact whether we see a special session about those issues. Let's talk more about some of the charges he was found guilty on. He was found guilty of soliciting or receiving something of value from lobbyists. So the ethics law says lawmakers cannot ask for or take something of value from a lobbyist or someone who hires a lobbyist, someone with business before the legislature. You can't ask for or take something from them. So the charges here for that are with four prominent businessmen. You got Will Brook, James Holbrook, Jimmy Rain, Rob Burton. Hubbard was found guilty on all of these charges that he, this was his printing company here in Auburn, Craftmaster, and it was not doing well. It had financial troubles. And Hubbard went to these businessmen and asked them for a $150,000 investment into the company. Well, the state says that investment was something of value. And those men were either lobbyists or someone who hires a lobbyist. The state says you can't ask them for something of value. And that is why he was guilty of those charges.
And there was one that was also pertaining to that with businessman Dax Swatek. That one did not. However, that was one of those that was kind of similar to the rest of them. However, there was, I guess, some disagreement. There was never proof that he actually received money in that instance, because I noticed that one was found not guilty.
Not guilty on the Dax Swatek. And Dax Swatek took the stand in there, and Dax Swatek said, Hubbard had asked me for this. I told him it was illegal for him to ask. It was illegal for me to give. But then when Hubbard took the stand, a completely different story on this one. He said, I never asked Swatek. I never asked Dax for this. So that must have been the reasonable doubt in why he got not guilty.
I was going to ask the exact same thing. And the other question was that we saw the jury deliberate now for about 7 hours. I know a lot of us had talked here about the possibility that this could go into Saturday. Judge Jacobs was willing to,
Jacob Walker
was willing to do that. Were you surprised by the ruling coming the day of here?
I was thinking it would happen today. Everyone else told me I was wishful thinking, optimistic, but I thought it was going to be today. And the jury, it was, right before that, the jury had just gotten its dinner delivered to it. It was Full Moon Barbecue, and it was within an hour of that dinner being delivered that they came back with the verdict. So once dinner was delivered that late at night, everyone thought there was not going to be a verdict tonight, and then it happened.
Very busy day here in Opelika.
Again, this will have big implications on everything that's happening in Montgomery and state government. We'll continue to follow all of it. And thank you, Facebook, for watching all of this. But we're going to have a lot more coverage and details on what happened after the basketball game. So stay up, turn on the news, have a Friday night with us at ABC 3340.